Good afternoon, all. This is Prasanna, and let's see some interview questions on JavaScript. So, the first question is, what is the difference between Java and JavaScript? Basically, Java is an object oriented programming language, and JavaScript is an object oriented scripting language. And Java code has to be compiled, whereas JavaScript code is in the form of text. And Java creates applications that run in both virtual machine and browser, whereas JavaScript code runs in browser only. These are the basic differences between Java and JavaScript. Now let's move on to the next question. What is JavaScript? JavaScript is a lightweighted interpreted programming language with object-oriented capabilities, and JavaScript is in the code is in the form of text. And the general purpose core of the language has been embedded into various web browsers and Internet Explorer, etc. So the next question is, what are the data types supported by JavaScript? The Here is a list of data types supported by JavaScript, and those are undefined, null, boolean, string, symbol, number, and object. Next question is JavaScript a case sensitive language? The answer is yes, JavaScript is a case sensitive language. So we have to precisely type with the capitalization of letters wherever required. Next question is, how can you create an object in JavaScript? So with the following code, we can create the object in JavaScript. Here in this example, we created an object uh, named emp, in which we stored a string and an integer. Next question is, how can you create an array in JavaScript? So we can create an array with the following syntaxes. So here we created two arrays x and y, where x is an empty array and y is an array of five integers. Next question is, what are the scopes of a variable in JavaScript? Basically, there are two types of variables: global variables and local variables. Global variable has global scope, which means it is visible everywhere in our code, whereas local variables is visible only within a function where it is defined. Next question is, name some of the built-in functions and the values written by them. And first function is char 80. It returns the character at the specific index. Next is concat. As we know, it merges two strings. And next is for each. It calls a function for each element in the array. Next is index of. It returns the index within the calling string object or the first occurrence of the specified value. Next is length. It basically returns the length of the string. Next is pop. When we call the pop, the first element is deleted. Next is push. When we call push, we can insert an item into the stack. Next is the reverse. Through this, we can reverse the entire order of the elements of an array. So the next question is, how can you create a cookie using JavaScript? So the basic syntax is, we can assign a string value to the document.cookie object, and the syntax goes like this. Next is, what is the result of 2 plus 5 plus 3? Here 3 is a string constant and 2 and 5 are general integers. As 2 and 5 are just integers, the arithmetic addition will go so that the result is 7. And 3 is a string constant, so the string get concatenated to the 7, so the answer is 73. Next is, why JavaScript is used. It is basically used to create the web pages interactive rather than the static ones, and it is used primarily by web browsers to create a dynamic and interactive experience for the user. Thank you.